Hey everybody, welcome friends, welcome back to A Mother's Journey to Holistic Health and Healing. I'm so excited for this episode today. Truly, I'm so excited. We are having our first ever guest to the show, which is so exciting because this year I'm wanting to bring more moms, more women sharing their story, how they are incorporating holistic health into their life, into the chaos and busyness of motherhood, and on top of all the other things they are going through in their life, all the challenges in their life. So our guest is a very special guest here today, and it's very, very truly inspiring. And she has really just courageously navigated a journey of health, of healing, of self-discovery, and while having such huge breakthroughs with binge eating. So her story is really one of resilience, of transformation and hope. And I know it's going to resonate deeply with so many of you. So we'll be diving into her challenges, the breakthroughs that have changed her life, and how she's redefining wellness, not just for herself, but for her family. And whether you're struggling with food, with stress, or just finding time for yourself amidst the chaos of motherhood, this episode is here to remind you that healing is possible and one step at a time. So without further ado, I'm so excited. Welcome, Karen. Welcome to the show. Please come on and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm honored to be the first guest.
Yay. Clapping over here. So excited to have you here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for being part of my story
Oh, yeah, it's been an honor.
for both of us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, 100%. Yeah, so tell us about yourself.
My name is Karen. I have been teaching for 20 years, all at the elementary level, the first 10 with severe and profound special education, and the last 10, I've been teaching elementary schoolers music. So I have over 900 students every single week.
Wow.
Um, yeah,
That's a lot of energy.
that's a lot of kids.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, I am the mom of a beautiful 6-year-old daughter who is my world. And I am a single mom. I got divorced about 2 years ago, after having to leave suddenly, for a domestic violence issue. So I was able to get my daughter and I to safety, about 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone through a lot of different transitions over the last 3 years in, going back and living with my parents for a while,
Mm-hmm.
having to live in a friend's basement for a while. And just in the last 6 or 7 months, I finally have been able to get a place of my own, which has been a huge blessing, but it's just taken a long time to kind of get back on my feet. And I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of like where life is going and what strategies I need to use to continue to heal.
Mm-hmm. That is so powerful. That I bet that speaks to a lot of women, a lot of mothers who are navigating through that, right? Domestic violence and feeling trapped and not knowing what to do and a lot of fear and just kind of feeling lost and helpless and what do I do? And especially as a single mom, or if you don't have much support, right? You're not really knowing what do I do, but you did know that you had to get out, you had to be safe. And that was a big huge step in your healing in itself, right? It was just making that decision to say, that's enough. We can't do this. I need to get myself safe. I need to get my daughter safe. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to get us to safety.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was not easy. It's still not easy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's what I needed to do for me and for my daughter.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that must have been very challenging in itself, having that courage to leave and say, this is what we're going to do, right?
Yeah, yes. But the time leading up to that leaving, it took me a long time to make that decision.
Mm,
Oh, and the way I coped was by eating food.
mm-hmm,
Because it was a strategy that I had unhealthily used for about probably my whole life, but it got worse when I was in a situation where I was worried about my mental, emotional, and physical safety.
mm-hmm,
And so I put on 20 pounds while we were engaged and another 40 since after we had gotten married, the divorce, all the stuff with court, all of
yeah.
that stress. So now that I'm kind of grounded and we have a place to be and I have a job and all of those things, now I can work on getting my body back. But it was a one step at a
Mm-hmm.
time type of thing, and it's taken me 3 years to get to that point, but better late than never,
Mm-hmm.
because I really had to crawl out of that hole.
I mean, there's so many directions that you can take, or it's easily to get overwhelmed with all the things that we think we should do or that we want to do. And then that sometimes doesn't lead us anywhere. We can just get overwhelmed with all the options or what we need to do, right? But you took it one step at a time and just said, first of all, even, it was like a process for you to make that decision, right? And to think about, what are we going to do? Where are we going to stay? How am I going to do this? Right. I'm sure it was just a process of every day, constant going back and forth in your mind, and the way that you coped with it, which many of us can relate because we are not taught how to cope with stressful situations or traumatic situations. We're not given those skills. And the one thing that in our society that we have an abundance of is food, and even at a young age, as we grow up, we can have different types of relationship with food, reward, and I don't know, sometimes your parents telling you to finish the plate and you can't have this, you can't have that, or whatever. When you get in trouble, you can't have this, right? So food has been a huge part of our food is a huge part of our life, right? And we have a relationship with it that can change over time as well. And for a lot of people, it is for a way to manage and cope with stress. It's like an outlet, right? To soothe, to self soothe, and to make you feel a bit better, to take that pain away or to get that comfort. But you knew
Yes,
that
but
you wanted that to change.
well, yes, it had to
Mm-hmm.
change. If I'm not physically healthy, then I can't take care of my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and I certainly don't want her to end up
Mm-hmm.
with my ex. Like, she is my motivation. Because
100%.
I want the best for her, and the best for her is being with me. But if I have tons of health issues, I can't take care of her the way that I need to.
Yes, that's like something I think that a lot of us mothers have is our motivation, our reason for change. A lot of it has to do with our children, right? We either don't want them to go down the same path we did, or we want to prevent certain things. We want to help them, we want to be a good role model, and it is challenging because we have to do the work first. We have to do the work. We have to do the healing first. We have to then lead by the example. And like you said, it's a process that takes one step at a time, which looks different for each individual. So I just want to share that that is important because a person's healing journey is going to vary in terms of that first step, what they do for that first step towards their healing. And so, but yeah, you did what you need to do. And so, would you say that the binge eating first manifested when you got married or when you were dating your ex-husband, or when do you feel like it first started to manifest?
No, I think that it's always been present. I watched my parents deal with stress by going to the pantry and eating
Mm,
cookies, and so it's kind of been ingrained in me
mm,
in an early age.
mm.
So like I think it was always there, but it was like amplified
Oh.
when I was going through all of that stress with living with my ex and with divorce and court and all of those things.
Mm,
It got even
mm.
worse.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
because I didn't have the tools I needed
Right.
to deal with the stress, and I was so overwhelmed trying to take care of my 3-year old at
Hmm.
that point. I was raising her by myself, and trying to hold down a job and do all the legal stuff. I was completely overwhelmed.
You are in survival, right? It was like we talk about this in sessions and working together. And I'm sorry if I did not mention this at the beginning, but Karen has been a client that I've been working with for the past year and has really made some huge strides. And so I've gotten to witness and see her transformation and how much growth and strength she's really cultivated and change in her life. And yeah, that's just it's just a process, right? It's a process. It does take some time, and you're just really going at the pace that you need to go for yourself, right? Going at
Yes,
your own pace.
it's hard to be patient with yourself.
It is. It is very hard. We're just used to seeing, we want that instant gratification. We want that change now.
Yes, I can be patient with, my preschooler having a huge tantrum, or like a student throwing things across the room, but I can't be patient with myself. Well, I'm learning. I'm
Yes.
learning
Yes. I love that. You're
it,
learning.
but it's harder to be gentle and compassionate towards myself than it is to other
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. And again, self compassion is another skill I feel that we are not taught either, or we're not talked about, and
No.
that is a huge part to healing as well, is having that self compassion for ourselves as we move through challenges, through uncertainties, through fears, through guilt or shame or whatever. All of those uncomfortable emotions, self compassion can really help us just see things for what it is, but also acknowledging that you're going through a difficult time, and you know, we're going to get through this, okay? Which is what you're doing. So, that being said, like, what do you feel were some of those turning points in your life when you felt that you needed to seek some professional support and help for your health and wellness, because you knew, like, I don't want my health to decline. I got to be here for my daughter. Like, what were some of those turning points? Do you feel like maybe some examples that you could recall?
Well, I think one of the first ones is that I felt awful.
Mm,
It wasn't just the emotional, like, feeling awful for what I had been through. It was a physically feeling awful.
mm,
Just not having energy, and, like, just not being able to move in my body and to
mhm,
be comfortable in my body. And I felt like, once I had gotten through the thick of the divorce, I was like, okay, now I need to focus on getting myself healthy,
mhm,
because I can't keep up with my preschooler. Like, and I have to be able to keep up with my preschooler, whether I feel like it or not. Like, I've got to do something, in order to get myself more energy and just mobility
mhm,
at that point. So I think that was a major, major turning point, that realization, and the realization, that, if I'm not okay, then my daughter's not going to be okay.
mm,
You know that
mm.
that hit me hard.
Yeah.
Um, so that's when I knew that I couldn't do this on my own, and I needed some help.
Wow.
So then I called you.
Yeah. That hits me hard. I'm going to tell you, that hits me hard. If I'm not going to be okay, then neither is are my children. Like,
Yeah.
that just hit me really hard, and that just, like, little light bulb moment went up there too, because you know, I feel like too it's important for our kids to kind of see our emotions and how we're feeling. We hide it, and sometimes we want them to know that we're okay and things like that. And but I feel like too just having that vulnerability, right? Like, we're trying to be that example. We're trying to be strong for them. And sometimes that can be hard to kind of like hold it inside, or just to show them like I'm being strong. And that can be a definition that's different for every person when we say quote unquote being strong, right? And we could be taught to think that being strong is not crying or showing your emotions, or we could be taught so many different things about what we think strength is, inner strength is. But what I'm saying is, especially if you have younger children, right? We want to try to be we want to try to be strong. We want to try to like hold in those emotions. We want to try to quote unquote have it together so that way they can see that we are doing quote unquote okay and that they can also be okay. But in reality, kind of that affects us, holding in our emotions can affect us mentally and emotionally. We're feeling kind of on edge and just kind of want to let it out, where either we're lashing out at our kids or just like irritable or whatever kind of emotions, right? And then that kind of affects that energy, also rubs onto our children, and then they can kind of sense that too. Would you feel that would be the
Yes.
same for you?
Oh goodness, yes. Because toddlers and preschoolers, especially,
Mm-hmm.
they feed off of whatever energy
Yeah,
you have,
exactly.
and they know when to test and when to push buttons, and all the moms are saying
Do.
amen.
They do. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I love that because I'm sure that's really gonna hit a lot of women, a lot of moms out there today, is that if they're not okay, then my child's not okay. And that can be a really tough thing to face and hear
Hmm.
because we want our children to be safe, right? We'll do anything for them. And sometimes it's just accepting that. I think that's kind of like that first, me personally, in my experience and just my own personal views, I feel like acceptance is that first kind of stage to starting our healing journey. We're accepting where we're at in the moment. We're accepting the circumstances that are happening, what's going on, just kind of it is what it is right now. But I don't have to continue on this path. I can do something different, right? So for you, you knew that you wanted to change and you made that step and reached out for support, right? So who was part of your support system, or who has been part of your support system throughout your journey so far?
Definitely my family. My dad has been my rock.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely my roommate, and I've got a friend down the street who has gone through a similar
Wow.
situation. And so we have been really good support for each other too. I've been a part of a domestic violence support group
Oh.
that I was in for over a year. That all of us had been through similar things, and we were able to talk about what worked and what didn't, so that we didn't feel like we were doing this by ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And there was great support and comfort in the fact that I wasn't alone.
Yeah, I think that's another huge part to our healing and just getting back on our quote unquote on our feet and regaining our energy and our strength, right? Is to have some support and to reach out. So how did you do that? Because for a lot of women, a lot of mothers, it's hard for a lot of us to ask for help, or we either have a resistance to it because we don't want to bother anybody, or maybe they have a mindset of I'm going to be seen as weak, or whatever kind of unhelpful thoughts around asking for support and help can leave us feeling even worse. So how was it for you? Like, what helped you get that result to seek support and talk out and speak out and find these groups? Like, what helped you with all of those things?
Well, when you hit rock bottom, you don't have much of a choice. It was
Mm,
a very humbling
mm,
experience. Usually I am the person who's giving the help to other people. And I had to be like, I'm kind of in an emergency
mm-hmm,
situation, and I need to get rid of my pride, do what I need to do to support my family.
mm-hmm,
And even if it means asking for help, which I don't like doing, just realizing I couldn't do it on my own.
mm-hmm.
I
Oh my
was I was
gosh.
t- I was too emotional. I didn't know what was going to happen
Mm.
next. I mean, it was just crazy. Yeah, I was like, I don't have a choice here. This is too much for one
Mm-hmm,
person.
mm-hmm. That really is a lot, and as a mom, we're juggling so many things. But on top of that, we have all the other very extremely heavy situations and things, right? Like the
Yeah.
court stuff, and I don't know, trying to find a home and trying to just live. just trying to get through the day, right? And we talk about this before in our sessions and being in the survival mode and how it affects our nervous system and how we live each day of our life for a long time in this mode of quote unquote survival, right? This mom survival mode of feeling on edge and feeling like, I'm not safe, or it's really, it's not peaceful. That's for sure,
Mm-mm.
and when you get to that point, like you said, of hitting rock bottom, or for a lot of people, whatever that means to them, it because it's like you're trying to be afloat in the water, and instead you feel like you're drowning, and you're like, I don't want to drown. I need to do whatever I need to do to stay afloat and keep myself alive and my daughter, and what am I going to do, right? And you look out suddenly, like, I guess the survival mode has its positives, of course, because that's what keeps us alive, right? It's our
Yeah.
fight or flight response, and so it gets activated, and so you're like, okay, boom, suddenly you've got all these hormones going on, your cortisol, your epinephrine, like all these things, and you're just like, okay, who can I contact? Who do I reach out to? What can I do, right? And so little by little, that just kind of opens some doors once you start, all right, let me work with, I'll talk to my family about it, maybe the support group, like all the things that you mentioned. And that kind of helps us to get that cushion around us to feeling like, okay, I'm not alone. I have some help, which is truly a very crucial part to healing, is getting whatever kind of support you can. It's just that for a lot of people, it's like, how do I ask for help without da 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 da? But when you're in that space of like, there's no option. I'm just going to do it, right? Like I have to. There's no room to have those thoughts. Like we're just going to do this, right? And which is what you did. And then you also shared and throughout our sessions, working with a mental health therapist, right? With a mental health practitioner. Was that something that you also started when we started working together, or was that before?
That was before. I started working with a counselor um right after I left. Because it was necessary. I was not in a good place. But then as I started getting better and stronger and things got more stable, then I was like, okay, I'm ready to take the next step.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, what is the next step going to
Mm-hmm.
be? And in the midst of my Facebook scrolling, see, it can be a good thing.
Yeah.
Uh, I ended up finding you.
Mm-hmm.
And then not only did I have my regular counselor,
Mm-hmm.
but I had the holistic
Yeah.
approach towards the eating, and two things combined has made all the difference in the world.
So powerful, right? Yeah, and where it can take you and where it led you to. So, would you say that, well, I guess the first step in your healing journey was that acceptance, like we said, leaving really just leaving the trauma, right? Leaving the violence, all that was not serving you, right? That was kind of like your first step in your healing journey, and moving with your
Yeah,
parents, or staying with your friend for a while, and then it was okay, getting the support, and then it was reaching out to a therapist, working with them for a while, and then it was okay, maybe it's time to start working on other areas of my health and wellness, like my nutrition and things like that. And that's when we started. Is that about right, as
yes.
part of like the process?
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just want to share out there that for those of you listening, the healing journey, and when we want to make changes in our health and our wellness and our well-being, is not like linear, right? And it's a process, and it's up and down, and it looks different. And some of us think it's going to be like months or a certain like time frame, but really it could be years to where we shift into this next path of healing, which creates more space to other areas of your life and wellness, right? Like what we talk about a lot. And so for you, it was like leaving the trauma, right? And being in
Yes.
a bit more safer space, which allowed you to have more energy to focus on your mental health with support. And then taking in another step, right? Another step into your health and wellness. Yeah. What?
I left my because my job was stressful, and I was like, this is not helping my
Mm,
me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's time to do something else. So this summer I took another risk, and I'm so glad that I did. I'm teaching in a different school where I am actually supported
Mm-hmm.
um, by my bosses and by coworkers and all of that, and that has made a big difference
Mm-hmm.
um, in my mental health as well.
Mm.
Honestly, so I made two huge shifts and then
You
moved
did.
three times.
You did. Yeah, talk about resilience, right? And taking those risks, because that's something that a lot of us have a hard time doing, is taking risks, and I don't know what's going to happen, and kind of being stuck in that mindset. But most of the time, it's a risk that's going to kind of like, it feels scary but yet exciting at the same time. Let me apply for this new job. Okay, this seems right, let's go to this new job. Let me look for homes, let me see what I qualify for, like taking those initial steps to actually get to where you are now, right? And so kind of just sharing with you all right now, like, Karen, you stayed with your friend, you lived with your friend for how long in her basement? Mm-hmm.
2 years and 6 square feet
Mm-hmm.
with my.
For 2 years, you navigated motherhood, you were in survival mode, you had that job that was constantly giving you stress while also trying to work on your health, right? And working together with myself and your therapist. And then when was that point that you felt like, okay, I'm going to look for home. I need to leave this job. Like when you realize this is all affecting me mentally, especially my job. This is affecting my health.
It was last winter time
Mm-hmm.
because I got to a point I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like I felt like that 600 square feet was getting smaller and smaller,
Oh,
and it was getting bigger and bigger. And I was like, okay, it's time for another switch, because I didn't want my daughter to go to school where I was, because I saw some things that I
mm,
didn't think were best for her.
mm-hmm.
Um, and so I was like, okay, either I've got to leave teaching altogether, or I've got to figure out something
Mm-hmm.
different. And this job literally fell into my lap.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best schools in my
Wow.
area. Like when I was looking for schools, I was like, man, wouldn't it be great if I ended up there? And I was
Mm.
like, happen.
Yeah.
And then a month later,
Wow.
bam, I'm like, okay, apparently this
Yeah.
is happen.
Talk about manifestation, right? I think too, like once what we focus on expands and we attract more of that. So when you realize, okay, we're going to find another job, this is not serving me, this is a job I would love to work at, right? Applying for it, doing what you needed to do, realizing that it's time for us to get our own home, right? And really just taking action on that, right, is a huge, very courageous steps as well, to just shift out of this comfort where you've been for years and didn't want to be, and then into a different role, right? Because you're also shifting to a different timeline, I would say, right? A different experience, a different part in your life, which is
It was
huge.
time.
Mm-hmm. New chapter. Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. Yeah. So a lot of you moms out there, if you're struggling with a job that you're just like, no, it's really putting a lot of wear and tear on your health, you know, maybe it's time to start thinking about what other options you could have that could help you feel better and help you take aligned action into what a healthier work life balance would be for you. Because that is an important part of our mental health and it affects us. So, how has your mindset around health or food or self worth shifted at all? Any thoughts that you could share with us on that?
Interestingly enough, with this new job, we were required to read a book all about growth mindset.
Oh.
And it's by Carol Dweck.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Mindset: The New Psychology of Success. And growth mindset is a huge part of our school,
Mm-hmm.
that we
Oh.
really we teach this to our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Really make it a point that that's just as important, if not more than important, than the content.
It really is.
So I was learning to teach in this manner,
Mm.
it was also sinking into my brain
Mm-hmm.
as well. It's just the timing of it all. I mean, it's got to be God's
Yeah,
providence.
yeah. The universe just supporting you in its mysterious ways. Absolutely. I think too, that mindset is a huge, huge component to how the actions we take or don't take, right? And when we focus on maybe taking a more neutral or positive or looking at things in a different way, in a different perspective, that's going to help support us, right? So, how do you feel like your mindset has changed, whether it's been around food or your health?
A big part of growth mindset is you don't say, well, I can't do that. I
Mm-hmm.
can't change. That's a fixed mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Growth mindset is I can
Mm-hmm.
change. I can learn new things. I just need to try differently.
Yeah.
Um, and so I've learned a lot and I'm continuing to learn
Mm-hmm.
about growth mindset, not just from the book, but from real life.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to really change my inner dialogue, saying,
Oh,
well,
self talk.
I might not be there yet,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm taking steps to get there.
100%.
And even if I'm not completely there, if I'm moving in the right direction, even if I'm like crawling, I'm eventually going to get there. It might take a
Right.
long, but as long as I'm not going the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's something like part of also self compassion approach too is well, oftentimes we can have that inner critic or that judgment and criticism come in, which is normal, right? To tell us, oh, well, I'm not good at this or I'm not good at that. But no, in reality, we're just learning. We're learning how to do something, and it's going to take time and just shifting from that, from the energy of negativity and judgment to a place of being a student again or being curious or of learning lightens the energy and a little bit more uplifting, right? And so you kind of, the more and more that you're able to catch some of those thoughts that are not supportive for you, that are either negative or maybe it's negative self talk, and you're able to reframe them, right? Like, no, wait a minute. I am learning. It's not that I don't know, it's that I'm learning or I haven't been taught this yet. And so I can learn, right? So taking a more self compassionate approach is also a growth mindset.
Oh, yes. Or, oh, well, this didn't work. Let's
Mm-hmm.
go back and figure out why it
Yeah.
didn't work so that I can figure out what to do next time.
100%. And that's part of that holistic wellness is our mental health, our mindset, our perception and about certain things and what we think about ourselves or our beliefs and things like that, right? So integrating, like you said, it kind of just started to fall into place, working with the mental health and having this book of like, oh my gosh, I am rewiring my mindset right now. It's more into a growth mindset, which is open, which is more compassionate, more positive, right? Neutral, as opposed to one that's closed minded and maybe negative and kind of a down energy. So that's part of holistic wellness also is healing our mind and reprogramming from any past limiting beliefs or things that we've been told and think are true, right, over time. And
Hmm.
that's part of the holistic journey too. Yeah. And that's been a powerful shift for you also because it's impacting you in so many other ways and through your nutrition and in your exercise, your movement and how you do things right around your health and wellness.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Definitely. I have to keep reminding myself that I've had these habits for
Mm-hmm.
30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna just fix them in 2 or 3 months. Like that's unrealistic. It's not going to happen. But when I get impatient with
Mm-hmm.
myself, which I often do, I have to like physically remind
Mm-hmm.
myself of how much I'm trying to undo. And you can only do what you can handle at the time. I think
Exactly.
I've learned the most through this experience is you can't eat an elephant all in one
Mm-hmm.
bite.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. You've got to take a little bite where you are
Mm-hmm.
and then just keep working at it,
Integrate it.
having to keep with it until you've eaten the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100% instead of going all out and burning out. Yeah. Yeah. How do you balance your health and wellness with demands of work and being a single mom, and what's been helping you?
I have joined a gym. Which at first I was like, I don't know about this. It's time away from my daughter, and it's gonna keep us out a little bit late at night, to do the classes that I want to do. And I just went back and forth about it, and eventually I was like, I do a lot of things for her. I need to do this for me.
Mm.
And it turns out all of that stress was all in my head. She loves going to the gym
Yeah.
because she has a little kids care thing, and she gets to color and play with friends. And she asked me when we're going to the gym, and I was thinking, and I was worried that
Yeah.
she was going to be the issue, like I was borrowing trouble, um that wasn't there. But in my head I had made it up to be so much bigger than it was.
Hmm. I think we can
um
relate, all of us listening.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to try things even if you think they're not going to work, because
Hmm.
it will surprise you.
Exactly. Yeah, it's 100%, right? It's our mind again, going back to that growth mindset, how it's very powerful and our thoughts are extremely powerful, that we can tell ourselves this crazy story or untrue story and lead us to something that we don't want to do, or we're just like unhappy with. And then but instead, what if we just ask ourselves different questions or tell ourselves different things, like, well, let's just give it a try, or let's just try it, and really having this different type of inner dialogue, right, to seeing if we get a different result. I mean, that's not what we're thinking about in that moment. Let me see if this will help me get a different result. Right? It's just like, well, let's just see what happens, right, kind of a thing. And let's see how my daughter does or whatever. But like you said, you gave yourself permission to do something for yourself, which a lot of us moms struggle with, is the mom guilt, right? The mom guilt. That's something we all struggle with. I'm sure everyone listening can relate. And it's like, but I'm working all these hours and I need to have some time spent with my children. And I feel bad if I'm going to go do this or that, right? But you realize that just by, okay, let's go try it out. Oh, she ended up liking it. It's her social time. She gets time to be active and to do some other things, creativity and be social, while I get this much needed time for myself, right? And that can look different for everyone. It's not like, oh, you have to go to the gym. There's different ways that we could be social. Maybe it's within your church group. Maybe it's, I don't know, joining a friend and leaving your children with a babysitter, or like, I don't know, a family or someone, right? To finding what you can do. So, yeah, that's my next question. What advice would you give to other moms struggling to prioritize themselves and their health while raising children?
Start small. And start with the things that you enjoyed doing before you became a mom,
Mm-hmm.
that you're not spending time doing because you're just trying to get through the day.
Mm-hmm.
You have to carve out that time during nap time, or once they've finally gone to bed. Like, if you don't carve out that time for yourself, you're going to start snapping at your kids, and you're going to
Mm-hmm.
not be the parent that you want to be for them. So if it was reading that you enjoy doing, do that.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's like playing an instrument,
Mm-hmm.
or cooking, or whatever it is that brings you joy, you owe it to your children to keep doing that,
Mm-hmm.
because when you have joy inside of you, you're a better parent, and it's just a more harmonious lifestyle at home,
Mm-hmm.
getting what they need.
Right. And like we said at the beginning, right? If mom's okay, then she's going to be okay, right? Then our children are going to be okay, versus opposite. Doing what we can to see it as an investment, as an act of self love, as an act of self care, and that you are also worth taking care of yourself, just like we take care of our children. And we need that time to recharge and replenish, right? Yeah. And so, how do you feel like that's played a role in the binge eating, in terms of like the the coping mechanisms that you are learning. What tools are you learning now to help you navigate stress, that's helping you overcome the binge eating? What can you tell us about that?
If you had told me 10 years ago that I was going to be a tea drinking yogi, I would have laughed in your face. Um, Yoga and breath work have played a
Mm-hmm.
huge, enormous, I can't say it enough, role in my healing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I had not done those things, I don't think I would have made it through all that I've made it through.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those things I was like, well, I've tried everything else, so why not try this? And if it happens to work, great. And if not, well, I can say I tried. But
Yes.
then it ended up working so much, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
I feel better. Like
Mm.
my thinking is not clouded anymore. My body doesn't hurt
Mm.
anymore. I'm like, what in the world? This hippy dippy stuff works.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something too we had to work on, right? You and I, is sometimes we have to first understand what is our current way of thinking. What do we believe about this breath work? What do we believe about this yoga? Like, what are the mindset barriers that are getting in the way from me doing it? Is it like, oh, this might not
Mm,
work for me? Or, what are all the things? Oh, I've tried this, so why would that work? Or whatever the thoughts are. And just taking that open minded, let's just try it. Let's just do something, right? And so for you, like, when we started practicing on learning just simple techniques like this, like the square breathing, right? And then kind of learning how you can incorporate into your day and finding where you can find movement, and also that along with that is how you're spending your time, right? Your time bank, right? We had that discussion, and I think that's important for us moms to think about too. Is we say we don't have enough time for ourselves, but yet we're either on our phones scrolling social media, or and for like a long amount of time, or maybe just like surfing the web, or playing some games on our phone, or just watching whatever, Netflixing this and that, and which is totally fine every now and then. But if it's not helping you to recharge, it's not uplifting your spirit and your soul, you're not feeling connected to yourself, and it's not helping your well-being, then it's not really serving you, right? And so kind of we have to take a step back and think about, how am I spending my time? If I want to put these things into practice and make time for myself, I first need to look at how I'm spending my time, right? Which is one of those things that we also worked on, right? Was that time management, and how am I going to put it in there, right?
mhm.
Exactly. Yeah. So how have you been able to incorporate this into your daily life?
Um, with the yoga, at first, I was doing a really good job of just doing it on my own before I went to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And then after like 8 or 9 months, I saw that I wasn't being as dedicated to getting on my mat as I had been.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, maybe I need to try something different. Like this worked for a while,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not serving me
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Being in the class structure, and actually being around people who are doing yoga,
Mm-hmm.
um, that energy in the room helps uplift me
Mm-hmm.
all.
Mm-hmm.
That was the missing thing,
Mm-hmm.
that I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I actually enjoy going to the gym. Yes, I have really become hippie. Um, I don't even know who I'm talking to anymore. The
You're
person
just
was.
different. Yeah.
Yes, it's very different, but I know that it makes me feel better.
Mm.
It might be tough at the time,
Mm-hmm.
but the benefits are enormous because I feel it when I don't go.
Yes, exactly. Right. You feel it. And when you say you feel it, like, how would you, what does that mean to you when you say that you feel like it affects you?
I'm just
Mm.
sluggish. I'm not like as mentally sharp as
Mm-hmm.
it's like instead of my body, like my muscles working together, it's like they're working against each
Mm-hmm.
other and everything seems so much harder.
Yeah.
Um, but when I've taken that time to do yoga or aerobics or any of those
Mm-hmm.
things, it just loosens
Yes.
everything.
And it changes the energy, right? It changes your
It
energy for sure.
does.
Yes. I think too that's an important thing to note that for us mothers, for us women, we need to figure out what it is that's going to work for us, right? For some people, we need that social support and being around other people. For some others, we're more of introvert, and it's more of like finding a little space at home to maybe find on the YouTube or a book or an app or anything like that to help us start off small with like a small amount, right? And just kind of expanding on that and seeing. So that's kind of like my next question, right? How was all or nothing or perfectionism impacted your health journey, and how are you navigating that?
All or nothing thinking, all that it did for me was like paralyze my brain
Mm.
because it made things seem so overwhelming
Mm-hmm.
that I was like, why even start?
Mm.
If I can't be perfect at it, then why even bother? So it had me stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing like little things at a time and getting used to that one habit and then adding another
Mm-hmm.
whenever I was ready,
Mm-hmm.
because that was a big part of it. Like some habits took a little bit longer to solidify and feel comfortable, but if I did too many things at a time, I got
Mm.
overwhelmed. I was like, oh well, nope, that's it.
Yeah.
But when I slowed down and took my time, it makes all the difference in the world
Mm.
in being
Oh
self.
yeah, for sure, 100%, right? We can give ourselves, we're giving ourselves permission to just do what we can, and that it's imperfect, and then that's okay, right? And that kind of takes off some of that pressure, because as before we put a lot of pressure on ourselves that we don't need to be putting on ourselves with all that's going on in our life. And it just takes time to really overcome some of those all or nothing thinking patterns, right? And just takes time, a process, like you said, part of that growth mindset and fixed mindset. So what do you feel like for you? What's been like the most important lesson you feel like you've learned from your healing journey so far?
It has to be a little bit at a time, and it has to build on the previous habits for it to work.
Mm.
Otherwise it's not gonna work. And giving yourself the grace to focus on the things that you've done well
Mm.
instead of the things that you keep messing up on.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really helps. Every time we talk, we always talk about the wins.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about the stuff that wasn't so good. We just kind of
Yeah.
brush that off to the side, but it helps me realize how many things I'm doing right that
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't doing before.
Mm.
Because for some reason, the way that I'm wired is that I look at the bad stuff
Mm.
first instead of dwelling on what was going right and what I have
Mm.
accomplished. The stuff that I was doing wrong should not
Mm-hmm.
discount all of the stuff that I did right.
Yeah, I think that's you're definitely not alone. I think that's something we all struggle with. Our human brain is leaning towards the focusing on the negative, right, and not seeing all that's going well. And it takes conscious effort to actually think about what is going well and what am I doing? What can I celebrate? What accomplishments have I had? What wins? To give us that reassurance, that self validation, rather than seeking it elsewhere, and feeling feeling proud of ourselves and feeling like here's the evidence. Look at what I've done, right? And what's helped you to kind of like see all those accomplishments and wins.
Well, I mean, talking with you, for a while, I used like a habits tracker journal type thing on my
Mm-hmm.
phone. And that did help because I could see how many
Mm-hmm.
days a week like I met my goals,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to like journal a little bit through that. I've kind of gotten away from that because I've just been focused on other
Mm-hmm.
things. Like I can't do all of the strategies all at, and I have to do the ones that I can do and be okay with not doing them all.
I love that. And just highlighting that, right, is I think an important message for a lot of us to hear is that when we have gained and when we have learned new tools for our self-care well-being toolbox, we're going to have different things. And so pulling out one and holding on to one for as long as you need to is that part of healing and growth and taking care of yourself, right? And it's not like you have to do all of the things, the meditation, the breath work, the yoga, the journaling, the, all the things, but you choose one or you choose maybe two that you feel that you need to help you, right? To get through the days, right? So I think that is important because that minimizes that overwhelming and it keeps it sustainable, right? And consistent.
Yes. And when I find that like it's no longer working or I'm losing interest,
Mm.
other things that I can take from that toolbox
Mm-hmm.
and try. It's about being curious with yourself and kind of like taking yourself out of your body
Mm-hmm.
almost and kind of
An
looking
observer.
at your, yeah, the way that an outsider would look at you.
Yeah.
Same compassion like a friend
Mm-hmm.
would you, and then kind of figure out what you need from
Yes.
outsider's perspective instead of being so engrossed
Mm-hmm.
in what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
Step back
Mm-hmm.
and you know uh, really seeing the situation for what it is
Mm-hmm.
instead of all of your emotions being tied up in it.
Yeah, exactly right. It's kind of like it's almost also like a spiritual thing too, I feel like, because we're learning about ourselves, we're kind of like trying to keep an open mind and trying to become more self-aware, increasing the self-awareness and learning things about ourselves and what do I want to change, what do I want to work and improve on to be better and not that we were worse off because we're all worthy just as we are, but we want to do better for our children and for ourselves, right? And what advice would you give to other moms who or women who are struggling with binge eating or similar, health challenges?
When you're binge eating, you're trying to make yourself feel better. And if you think about how you felt before the binge and after the binge and be like, is this bringing me joy?
Mm,
The answer for me, at least after a while, was no. Like,
mm-hmm.
what is this doing for me? This is not,
Mm,
this is serving me and the purpose that I'm moving towards. This is not working.
mm-hmm.
And if this isn't working, then what can I replace it with that will work,
Mm,
that will help me deal with these intense emotions that I'm having and that I don't know what to do with?
mm-hmm.
You have to replace the old behavior with a new behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And the new behavior needs to be something that just makes you sparkle, something that you enjoy, something that uplifts your spirits, and
Mm-hmm.
only you know what that is
Right.
for yourself.
Yeah.
Um, but you need to make it an honest effort to do things that actually bring you joy,
Mm-hmm.
not the fake joy of right at that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's a journey in itself, right? Trying to figure out what is it that brings me joy, And this takes us on our spiritual path, our spiritual journey. What are the things that light me up? What are the things that bring me down? What brings me this joy and peace and satisfaction and, life, right? To my spirit, like you said, that lights me up. And so sometimes that's like part of that healing from, for example, the binge eating or whatever kind of healing that someone's going through is what does that look like for me, and then sometimes it's just peeling the layers to figuring that out. So if you're not sure what it is that brings you joy out there and you're kind of confused because motherhood is like consuming a lot of your energy and you're not even sure what that is anymore, like Karen said, maybe think about what you enjoyed when you were younger and in the past. That's a great piece of advice because most likely it's something that maybe you might still enjoy and rekindle with. Or maybe again, it's just trying new things, right? Or talking to a friend or someone that you trust and seeing what ideas they might have or finding a support group, right? Of some interest that you might have. Because if there's something that calls your attention, it's a red flag. It's a sign that something is of interest to you. And so, like you said, that I feel like that's once we have that joy, it also leads us to living our life with more purpose and more presence as well. Like we want to be present for our children and not be distracted with all the stresses and coping in a way that is not serving us for our highest good.
Yeah.
And my last question for you, Karen, as we wrap up our episode today, is there a mantra or a quote or like something that you live by or that you feel like you like to share that's helped you through your health and your healing journey?
This is only temporary.
I love that.
Everything is going to change,
Mm.
especially having like young kids. They
Mm.
go through all these phases,
Mm-hmm.
and reminding myself they're not going to be in this phase forever. They're going to outgrow this phase, and then it's going to be something new and different. So just kind of hold tight, because there is a new chapter coming. You don't know when it's coming, but like just kind of just accept it for what it is and know that it's not going to last forever. And your
Yes.
new challenges will be coming soon.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of us moms struggle with, especially in that phase of like the terrible twos, which is where I'm at right now. And my youngest son with lots of energy, and he's just like all over the wall, and or whatever. If you're postpartum, and you're like, I don't know, right? It's just kind of, yeah, reminding ourselves that it's just temporary. Can I just take some deep breaths and just like go with the flow, and it'll be okay? And, how do I take care of myself in the season of life that we're in? I think that's a conversation we often have, is that that's going to change. That's going to look different for each of us, depending on how ages of our children, depending on our energy and our capacity, our circumstances. It's not always going to go the way we want it to go. And we have to kind of surrender to some of those things and accept to what is, and just focus on what you can control, what's within your control. What can I do? Instead of focusing on what you can't do. Truly, you have taken a holistic approach to your health by working on your mental health, your mindset, your emotional health, really just navigating what emotions am I feeling? What am I feeling right now? How can I best help myself, support myself, right? Through self-compassion, working on your nutrition, of figuring out some baby steps that's helping you to get more fruit and vegetables into your diet in a way that's not stressful for you, and where you're still slowly figuring out how to cook for the first time for you and your daughter, and bringing in the nutritional aspect of it, right? Bringing in how to manage your stress and moving your body in a way that feels good. That's going to give you energy, and at the same time bringing in that social component to it too, right? So really taking in this holistic approach to your health, that I'm so inspired, and I hope you all found as much inspiration and encouragement in this episode as I did, because Karen's journey is a very powerful reminder that healing is possible, transformation is possible, can really change our life with time and with support, right? And this dedication, this fire, this passion for your why. And even in the most busiest and most challenging seasons of life, she has demonstrated that. It's like, because life is not going to slow down, right, Karen? Like, life is not going to slow down, and we can't always be putting ourselves on the back burner. And so, in your case, it was like, I hit rock bottom. I had no other choice. I had to do it. But,
Don't
well, say that again?
don't wait until then to ask for help.
Right.
That's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
Please don't do it the way I did.
There we go. Another important lesson that you learned, right? Is like, well, I can't change that, but it helped fuel my fire to heal and to do the work. Yeah. So if her story resonated with you, remember you're not alone, and small intentional steps can truly lead to big transformations. Don't forget to take time for yourself, because you deserve it. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with another mom who could use some encouragement. And I'd always love to hear from all of you, and connect with me on Instagram. But other than that, thank you, Karen. Thank you so much for sharing your story. You're truly inspirational. I thank you, everyone, for listening, and really appreciate you for your time today and sharing this with us. So thank you so much, everyone. Until next time, take care of yourself, and you are worth it.